The crystal throne room of planet Xerion was filled with laughter. Golden banners shimmered under the twin suns, and hundreds of alien nobles gathered to witness the peace ceremony between humans and Xerions. The great Emperor Vraxon, tall and cruel, sat proudly on his throne made of black glass. His laughter echoed through the hall. Before him stood Commander Ethan Ward, the human ambassador from Earth. He wore a clean white uniform with the symbol of the United Alliance on his chest. Calm, serious, and unafraid, a human among giants. Commander Ward, the Emperor said with a smirk, his voice heavy with arrogance. As a sign of friendship between our species, I will give you a gift. The hall grew quiet. Everyone waited. Vraxon waved his hand and 2 armored guards dragged someone forward. It was a woman, or rather a princess. Velra, the Emperor's daughter. Her silver dress sparkled, but her head was bowed. She was larger than most Xerions, not tall and slender like the others, but soft and round. Her long violet hair covered half her face, and her golden eyes were full of shame. Gasps filled the room, followed by cruel laughter. The human wants a bride, yes? One noble mocked. Then give him this one, the Emperor's obese daughter. Another shouted, laughing. Even the Emperor joined in the laughter. Take her, human, he said coldly. Maybe on your small blue planet she will fit among your kind. We don't need her here. Velra's hands trembled. Her lip quivered as she tried to hide her tears. She knew what this was, not a marriage offer, but a humiliation. Her father wanted to insult the humans to make them feel disgusted, but Ethan didn't laugh. He looked at her. Really looked. Not at her body, but at her face. At the quiet pain in her eyes. At how everyone in that room treated her like trash. Slowly, Ethan walked forward. His boots echoed across the shining marble floor. All eyes followed him. He stopped in front of Velra. Princess, he said softly, his voice calm and respectful. Do you wish to come with me? Velra hesitated. No one had ever asked her what she wished. Her father glared, signaling her to obey. But something in the human's eyes, warmth perhaps, made her whisper. Yes. Ethan extended his hand. Then let's go. A silence fell over the hall. The laughter died. The Emperor's smile faded. You accept? He asked, confused. Ethan nodded. You offered me your daughter. I will protect her and honor her. The crowd murmured in disbelief. One alien whispered, he must be insane. Ethan turned slightly, his gaze sharp as steel. No, he said. I'm human. The Emperor clenched his fists, his pride wounded. You dare to... But Ethan raised a hand calmly. You made one mistake, Your Majesty. The Emperor froze. Ethan looked down at Velra, still trembling, still afraid, and said loud enough for all to hear. You thought you were sending me a joke, but you've sent me exactly what I needed. A stunned silence filled the hall. The nobles stared, unsure whether to laugh or fear this strange human's boldness. Velra's golden eyes widened, tears slipping down her cheeks. Not from shame this time, but from shock. For the first time in her life, someone had spoken for her, not against her. Ethan placed his arm gently around her shoulders and guided her toward the ship's exit. The great doors of the throne room opened with a hiss. Behind them, the Emperor shouted in fury, You'll regret this, human. You don't know what you've taken. Ethan didn't look back. Maybe, he said quietly, but I'll decide that myself. As the doors closed, the nobles' laughter turned to whispers. The Emperor's face twisted in silent rage. Outside, under the light of twin suns, Velra looked at Ethan and whispered, Why didn't you laugh? He smiled faintly. Because I saw something they didn't. What? She asked softly. Ethan looked at the stars above. A heart that deserves more than this cruel place. The ship engines roared to life. The grand palace faded in the distance as the human vessel rose toward the dark sky. But far behind them, hidden cameras streamed every second back to the Emperor's war council. His eyes glowed with anger as he muttered, So be it. If the human wants my daughter, he'll die with her. The stars stretched like silver dust as the human ship Solaris cut through the dark. Its engines hummed softly, leaving the glowing planet Xerion behind. Inside the ship, the air was quiet. Too quiet. Princess Velra sat near the observation window, watching the endless black space. Her reflection looked strange to her. Swollen eyes, trembling lips, heavy body wrapped in fine alien fabric. For the first time, she was away from home, yet her heart still carried the pain of that cruel laughter. Behind her, the door slid open with a hiss. Commander Ethan Ward walked in, holding 2 metal cups of steaming tea. "You haven't eaten all day," he said gently. "You should." Velra didn't move. "You don't have to pretend, Commander." "I know what I am, a joke, a burden." Ethan sat beside her. "No, you're someone who deserves respect." She looked at him confused. "Why would a human care? My own people hate me." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe that's why. Humans have seen too much hate. We try not to add more." She said nothing, but for a moment her eyes softened. Days passed aboard the Solaris. Velra tried to stay hidden in her small cabin, embarrassed by her body. The human crew, curious but respectful, didn't know how to act around her. They had heard what the Emperor did, and some whispered quietly, "Why would the commander accept her?" But Ethan didn't care. He gave Velra small duties, reading star maps, organizing supplies, checking oxygen filters. Slowly, she began to feel useful. She even smiled once when she correctly fixed a power line, and Ethan clapped softly. "You learn fast," he said. "No one ever taught me before," she replied. And that was true. On her planet, she was locked away, unfit for royal image, the Emperor had said. Yet here a human was teaching her stars, engines, and kindness. One evening, the ship alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the bridge. "Multiple ships incoming," shouted the pilot. "Zirian warships, they're locking missiles." Velra froze in fear. "It's my father," she whispered. "He sent them to kill me." To erase his shame, Ethan's face hardened. Not today. He jumped to the controls. "All hands to stations. Prepare counterfire." The crew moved fast, trained and loyal. Missiles flashed across the void. The ship shook violently. Velra fell to the floor, covering her ears. Explosions thundered outside. Ethan shouted, "Activate shields!" But the screen flashed red. The energy core was hit. The Solaris was losing power. "Commander, we can't take another strike," yelled the engineer. Ethan looked around, and panic smoke sparks. Then he saw Velra crawling toward a broken console, her hands glowing faintly blue. "What are you doing?" he yelled. "I can help," she cried. "My body—" "It stores biocrystal energy. Maybe I can feed it into your systems." Ethan's eyes widened. "You'll burn yourself out." "Better that than watch everyone die," she said, voice trembling but brave. Before he could stop her, Velra pressed her glowing palms against the core chamber. The room lit up like dawn. Her body trembled violently, but the lights on the bridge turned green again. "Shields are back online," shouted the pilot. "Power restored." Ethan turned toward the window. The missiles struck the shields and exploded harmlessly. With quick commands, he ordered counterfire. The human ship returned a single missile volley. Precise, deadly. The Zirian warship erupted in flames, scattering debris into the dark. The battle was over, but Velra collapsed. Ethan ran to her, catching her before she hit the floor. Her breathing was weak, her skin glowing faintly. "Stay with me," he said urgently. "You did it, Princess. You saved us." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "Did I really?" "You did more than anyone here." Her eyes fluttered shut, exhaustion pulling her under. Hours later, Ethan stood in the medbay, watching over her unconscious body. The doctor scanned her vitals and frowned. "Her biology is unlike anything I've seen. Those energy cells inside her, they can heal others, power systems, even regenerate tissue. She's not weak, Commander, she's extraordinary." Ethan looked down at her sleeping face. "Then why did they call her worthless?" The doctor sighed. "Because some people fear what they don't understand." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Not me, I understand enough." He gently brushed a strand of violet hair from her forehead. "You saved my people. Now I'll save you." Outside the window, the stars burned quietly, as if the galaxy itself had paused to witness something new. A human and an alien princess, bound not by orders or politics but by something deeper, respect, and the first quiet spark of love. The dark space around Solaris was quiet again, but the silence felt heavy and like the calm after a storm. The ship had survived the Emperor's ambush, but the victory had come at a cost. The corridors smelled of smoke and burnt metal. Crew members moved slowly, patching walls and checking systems. Ethan Ward walked through the halls with tired eyes. His uniform was burned at the shoulder, his hand still trembling from battle. He stopped at the medbay window where Velra lay sleeping. her body faintly glowing from the biocrystals within her. Machines hummed beside her bed, drawing energy from the strange light that pulsed beneath her skin. "She's stable," said the medic softly, standing beside him, "but her energy cells are unstable. If she tries something like that again, her body could collapse." Ethan nodded. "She risked her life to save us," the medic sighed, "and she nearly lost it." Ethan looked at her, the alien princess who had been mocked, rejected, and yet had more courage than half the soldiers he knew. She saved a ship full of humans who once laughed at her. "Kind," he said. "That's something no emperor could understand." Hours later, Velra opened her eyes. Her vision blurred, bright lights, soft beeps, and a human sitting beside her bed, sleeping in the chair. It was Ethan. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry. "Commander?" He woke instantly. "You're awake." Her voice was weak. Did anyone die?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Not one. You saved everyone." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean to drain myself. I just couldn't let them die because of me." Ethan leaned closer. "Don't ever say that again. You're not a curse, Velra. You're the reason we're alive." Her breath trembled. "My father must be furious." "Oh, he's beyond furious," Ethan said. "He lost a ship, and the daughter he never deserved." For the first time, Velra laughed softly. It was weak but real. Ethan couldn't help but smile. 2 days later, Solaris drifted through the asteroid fields of Sector 19, repairing damage. The crew had begun to treat Velra differently, offering food, greeting her politely, even smiling when she passed. Her courage during the battle had earned their respect, but the peace didn't last long. A sudden transmission flashed across the main screen. A distorted voice echoed through the bridge. "This is General Krav of the Xerian Imperial Fleet. The Emperor commands that the traitor princess and her human protector surrender immediately." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Mute channel." He turned to his crew. "Charge main engines." "We run silent through the asteroid belt." Velra stood near the console, watching the radar fill with red dots. Dozens of ships closing in. "You can't fight them all," she whispered. "I don't plan to," Ethan said. "But I also don't plan to die." The Solaris slipped into the thick asteroid field, its lights dimmed. The massive rocks drifted silently, blocking enemy scanners, but one wrong move could crush them. "Hold course steady," Ethan ordered. The pilot nodded nervously. "Asteroid collision risk at 60%. Velra stepped forward. "I can help navigate. Shirian sensors read mineral echoes. I know how they move." Ethan hesitated for a second, then nodded. "You're with me." Velra's glowing eyes focused on the radar. "Turn now. Left 5 degrees. Good." The ship glided between 2 huge rocks, scraping metal but surviving. Outside, the Xerian ships crashed into the asteroids, unable to track them. "We're losing them," said the pilot, astonished. Velra kept guiding them, her calm voice leading them through the storm. "Wait, hold. Now rise 15 meters." The Solaris burst through the last of the debris into clear space. The radar was clean. They had escaped. Cheers filled the bridge. Ethan turned to Velra, amazed. "You just outsmarted your father's entire fleet." She smiled weakly. "He never listened to me. He never knew what I was capable of." Ethan's eyes softened. "He will now." As the ship drifted safely, Velra suddenly winced, her hand clutching her chest. The glow beneath her skin flickered. Ethan caught her before she fell. "Velra!" "What's happening?" "I used too much energy," she gasped. "It's unstable." Her body pulsed with light, bright then dim, like a heartbeat fading. The medic rushed in with scanners. "Her biocrystals are overloading." Ethan grabbed Velra's hand. "Stay with me. You hear me? Stay with me." Her golden eyes met his, full of fear, pain, and something else. "If I die, tell them." "I wasn't a joke." Ethan's voice broke. "You're not dying, not now, not ever." He turned to the crew. "Get her stabilized." "Use every cell we've got." As the medbay lights flared, the Solaris sped away into the darkness, carrying a dying princess, a furious human commander, and a secret that could change the galaxy. The medbay of the Solaris glowed dimly under the blue lights. Machines hummed softly, monitoring every heartbeat, every pulse of energy inside Princess Velra's body. Her skin shimmered faintly with the same light that once saved the ship, but now it looked unstable, flickering like a candle about to die. Commander Ethan Ward stood beside her bed, eyes locked on the readings. Around him, doctors whispered nervously, scanning data that made no sense. Her energy cells are changing, said Dr. Hahn, the ship's medical officer. Her body isn't just storing powers, it's creating it. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? The doctor looked at the holographic scan, glowing veins of blue light running across Velra's body like rivers of fire. These layers under her skin, they're not fat or flesh. They're biological armor. The densest organic shield we've ever seen. Ethan stared in disbelief. Armor? Han nodded. Her body evolved to store and release crystal energy. It's not weaknesses, it's protection. The Emperor hid it from everyone, maybe even from her. Velra stirred in her sleep, groaning softly. Ethan stepped closer and took her hand gently. Her fingers were warm, trembling slightly. Easy, he whispered. You're safe. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint gold. Why, are you still here? She asked weakly. Ethan smiled. Because you keep saving me and someone has to return the favor. She tried to sit up but winced in pain. I feel strange. Like something inside me is alive. Ethan nodded. It is. The doctors say your body carries biocrystal armor. Something rare, something powerful. Velra blinked, confused. Armor? No. My father said it was deformity. He said I was too heavy, too slow, too strong. Ethan interrupted firmly. That's what he meant. He feared what you could become. Velra's lips parted slightly as if the truth hit her all at once. He hid my strength? Yes, Ethan said quietly. He sent you away thinking he was insulting me. But he gave me the most powerful being I've ever met. Tears welled up in her eyes. She shook her head slowly. All my life I believed I was shame. Ethan squeezed her hand. No, Velra. You were a secret weapon disguised as a mistake. For the first time she smiled. Small, uncertain, but real. Days passed as Velra recovered. She walked slowly through the corridors again, this time not hiding. The crew saluted her. Some even thanked her openly. She laughed softly one evening as she looked out the observation deck. Humans are strange, she said. Ethan, standing beside her, chuckled. You have no idea. On Jirian, no one would look at me without disgust, she said. But here, they smile. Ethan nodded. Because they see what I see in a person, not a label. She turned to face him. And what do you see, Commander? Ethan met her gaze steadily. Courage, kindness, strength, and maybe, he hesitated, someone worth fighting for. Velra's golden eyes widened slightly. Her cheeks glowed faintly, not from her crystals but from something warmer. No one ever said that to me. Before Ethan could reply, the ship alarm blared again. Incoming transmission, shouted the comms officer. Ethan's expression turned cold. Who is it? The officer's voice trembled. It's the Emperor himself. The massive hologram of Emperor Vraxon filled the bridge, his dark eyes blazing with fury. Human, he roared. You dare defy me? You took my daughter, destroyed my fleet, and made me a fool before the galaxy. Ethan stood tall, calm but sharp. You did that to yourself. She saved lives. You tried to take them, Vraxon sneered. She is no savior. She is a mistake. Send her back or I will turn your planet to ashes. Velra stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. Father, stop this. You lied to me. You said I was weak, but I know the truth now. I am not your shame. The Emperor's face twisted. You dare speak against me? Yes, she said, her glow brightening. Because for the first time I am not afraid. Ethan's eyes filled with pride. The Emperor growled. You will regret this, human. I am coming for you both. The transmission cut abruptly. The room fell silent. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Velra turned to Ethan, fear flickering in her eyes. He'll never stop. He'll destroy you to get to me. Ethan stepped closer. Then he'll have to go through me first. You can't fight an empire alone. Ethan smiled faintly. I'm human. We've done worse with less. Velra stared at him speechless. Not at his courage, but at the strange, unbreakable light in his eyes. A light that reminded her of her own. As the stars drifted past the window, two figures stood together, the human soldier and the alien princess once called a joke, now preparing to stand against a galaxy. The Solaris sailed quietly through deep space. The stars stretched endlessly in a silent ocean of light. Inside the ship, things had changed. The crew, once cautious around the alien princess, now looked at Velra with respect and warmth. Wherever she walked, heads nodded, smiles appeared. She was no longer the Emperor's joke. She was their savior. Commander Ethan Ward watched her from the bridge window one evening. She stood near the viewport, gazing at a nebula glowing in soft purple hues. The faint light touched her silver hair and golden eyes, making her look almost unreal. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said quietly. Velra turned. "You mean the stars?" he smiled. "Yes and no." She blushed slightly, turning away. "Humans always saying things like that," he chuckled. "It's how we survive the darkness, and with words, with hope." Her lips curved gently. "Then maybe that's why you're hard to conquer." Days passed in uneasy peace. The Solaris stayed hidden in the outer systems, repairing and resupplying. Ethan spent long hours training the crew, preparing for another possible attack. Velra joined him often, learning about human technology. She was curious, asking about everything: engines, gravity control, human food, even music. One night, she found Ethan in the small training hall, practicing with the plasma staff. "You never rest," she said. He lowered the staff and smiled. "You never stop asking questions. Maybe because no one ever answered me before." Ethan walked closer, then asked one more. She hesitated. "Why do you risk so much for me? You could have sent me away. You could have let my father have his revenge." Ethan's eyes softened. "Because you didn't deserve what he did to you. And because when I look at you, I don't see an alien or a weapon." "What do you see?" she whispered. "A person who reminds me what humanity should mean." Her heart raced. No one had ever spoken to her like that. For a moment there was only silence. The hum of the ship, their quiet breathing, the closeness that neither of them dared to break. But the peace shattered when an emergency transmission flashed across the ship. "Commander," the comm officer shouted. "Zirian Imperial broadcast and galaxy-wide message." The hologram of Emperor Vraxin appeared, his face twisted with fury. "To all citizens of the Empire, the human named Ethan Ward has kidnapped my daughter and declared war against Zirian. He is a terrorist, a deceiver, and will be executed on sight. Any world aiding him will burn." Gasps filled the bridge. Velra's eyes widened in horror. "No," she whispered. "He's lying." Ethan stared at the message coldly. "He's not lying. He's rewriting the story." The Emperor's voice thundered again. "My daughter is no longer of royal blood. She is an outcast. Let all who find her know she belongs to no one." The hologram faded. Silence filled the ship again. Velra's hands trembled. "He erased me. Even my name." Ethan stepped forward. "He can take your title, but not your worth." She looked at him, eyes wet. "You don't understand. Every world under his rule will hunt you now. You can't protect me forever." Ethan clenched his fists. "Watch me try." She shook her head. "I can't let you die for me." "You don't get to decide that," he said softly but firmly. "I made my choice the moment you took my hand in that throne room." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Why do humans do this? Why do you care so much about others even when it hurts you?" Ethan's voice lowered. "Because that's who we are. We break, but we don't stop caring." Velra looked into his eyes, and for the first time she understood what made humans different. Their strength wasn't power or weapons. It was their hearts. Later that night she found him on the observation deck again, the stars reflected in his tired eyes. She walked closer and said softly, "When this is over, what will you do?" Ethan smiled faintly. "If we live through this, I might build a small house, somewhere far from wars, just peace." "And if I survive?" she asked. He looked at her serious. "Then I'll build a bigger house." She laughed through her tears. But before the moment could deepen, an alert blared across the ship. Enemy jump signatures detected. The crew scrambled to stations. Ethan grabbed his communicator. "Report." The officer's voice came through sharply. "Zirian destroyers, 3 of them, closing fast." Velra's face paled. "He found us." Ethan's voice turned calm like steel and fire. "All hands, prepare for battle. No surrender." He looked at Velra one last time and said, "You wanted to know why humans care? You're about to see." The stars outside darkened as the warships emerged, massive shadows ready to crush them. Yet inside the Solaris, 2 hearts burned brighter than any star. The Solaris shook as another explosion thundered outside. The black void was now a battlefield, flashes of blue and red energy cutting across the stars. 3 massive Xerian destroyers surrounded the smaller human ship like wolves closing on a wounded prey. "Shields at 30%, shouted the pilot. Ethan's voice cut through the chaos, calm and firm. "Divert power from engines to weapons. Fire all cannons at the lead ship's core." Velra gripped the console beside him, her golden eyes burning. "You can't outfight them all. My father's fleet is too strong." Ethan didn't look away from the holographic display. "I don't need to outfight them. I just need one opening." The Solaris spun sharply, dodging plasma fire, its engines howling. Sparks burst from the ceiling as another blast hit the hull. Then, amidst the chaos, Velra suddenly gasped, her body glowing faintly again. "Ethan, I can feel the frequency of their shields."
"I can disrupt them."
Ethan turned sharply. "How?" She pressed her palm to the control screen. "My energy. It can interfere with their crystal grids. If I connect directly to the signal system, I might short their barriers for a few seconds." "Seconds might be all we need," Ethan said. "Do it." Velra closed her eyes. A blinding gold light pulsed from her hands into the control matrix. The ship trembled and the enemy destroyer's shields flickered violently. Ethan shouted, "Now! Fire!" The Solaris unleashed its full arsenal, twin beams slicing through the void. The Xerian flagship exploded in a blinding wave of fire. The crew cheered him, but Ethan didn't. He watched the radar. 2 more destroyers remained. "Prepare hyper-jump sequence," he ordered. "Destination, Xerion Prime." The bridge went silent. The navigator stared at him. "Sir, that's suicide." Ethan's eyes were cold and determined. "It's time we stop running." Velra's breath caught. "You mean to go back?" "To face my father." Ethan nodded slowly. "If we're going to end this, we end it at the source and we're in front of his empire." Velra hesitated, fear flashing in her eyes. "He'll kill you." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe. But if I die standing for the truth, then he'll never kill what we represent." Minutes later, the Solaris ripped through hyperspace, light bending around it. The crew sat in silence, the hum of the engine the only sound. Velra stood beside Ethan at the front window, watching the stars stretch into streaks of light. "You could have escaped," she said softly. "Why go back?" Ethan's voice was steady. "Because the galaxy has to see who you are, not the lie he made you." Her eyes shimmered. "I don't deserve this. You deserve everything," he said quietly. "Respect, peace, and a future." When they exited hyperspace, the sight ahead was breathtaking and terrifying. The Xerian capital world, covered in silver cities and glowing towers, filled the viewport. Hundreds of warships orbited the planet, their weapons locked onto the tiny human vessel. "Broadcast signal open," Ethan ordered. "Galaxy-wide." Velra looked at him in shock. "Ethan, what are you doing?" "Ending his lie," he said. He stepped before the camera. "This is Commander Ethan Ward of the United Human Fleet. We come not to conquer, but to show truth." The Emperor's massive face appeared on every screen, furious. "Human, you dare trespass in my sky." Ethan didn't flinch. "You sent your daughter as a joke. But she saved lives, human and alien. She has more honor than your entire throne." Velra stepped beside him, glowing softly. "Father, look at me," she said, voice shaking but strong. "You called me worthless, but my power saved thousands." "You were wrong," the Emperor's voice boomed. "Silence." "Guards, seize them." But before the guards could move, Velra raised her hand, her body blazing with golden light. Energy waves spread across the entire city, illuminating the sky. People below stopped and stared as her glow reached every corner of the capital. "People of Xerion," she called out, her voice echoing through every broadcast. "You were taught to hate what was different. But look, the human you were told to fear stood beside me when even my father turned away." Crowds across the planet watched in awe. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Ethan turned to the camera. "Maybe humans and Xerions aren't so different. We both bleed, we both love, and we both deserve better than kings who fear compassion." The Emperor screamed in rage and drew his weapon. "Enough!" He fired, a beam of energy aimed at Ethan. Velra stepped in front of him. The shot hit her square in the chest, but the light of her biocrystals flared brighter, absorbing the blast entirely. She didn't fall. Instead, the energy rippled outward, knocking the Emperor to his knees. Gasps echoed through the grand hall. Velra looked down at her father. "No more lies. The Emperor's crown fell to the floor. Ethan stood beside her, breathing hard. "It's over," she nodded slowly. "Yes, but peace is only beginning." Outside, the sky of Zirion glowed gold, not from war, but from a new dawn. For the first time, the galaxy saw a human and an alien princess standing together, not as enemies, but as proof that understanding could rise even from cruelty. The great throne hall of Zirion Prime was in ruins. The golden banners had fallen, the walls cracked, and the sound of chaos echoed outside as the Empire trembled. Smoke drifted through the shattered glass ceiling. Commander Ethan Ward stood in the center of the hall, blaster in hand, his uniform torn and bloodied. Beside him, Princess Velra stood glowing faintly, her breath heavy but steady. Her golden eyes burned with a new kind of fire, not shame but strength. Across from them, the once mighty Emperor Vraxen struggled to rise. His armor was cracked, his pride shattered. "You betrayed your blood," he spat. Velra's voice was calm. "No, father. I found it." Outside, millions watched through galactic broadcasts. Every species, every world, human and alien, who was witnessing history. "Your rule ends today," Ethan said firmly, his voice echoing in the vast hall. "The galaxy will no longer bow to fear." The Emperor's eyes flared with hatred. "You think a human can change the Empire? You think kindness will save you?" Ethan's tone sharpened. "Kindness didn't save me. She did." The Emperor roared and activated his energy staff, charging forward. Sparks burst as Ethan blocked the blow with his weapon. The sound of metal clashing filled the chamber. Velra cried out, "Stop! This fight is over!" But neither listened. Ethan ducked, swung, and the Emperor's strike missed by inches, slicing through a marble pillar instead. The structure trembled. "You should have stayed on your dirt planet," Vraxen shouted, his voice echoing with fury. Ethan gritted his teeth, sweat running down his face. "And you should have learned what a real father is." He lunged forward, disarming the Emperor and knocking him to the ground. The royal guards hesitated, their weapons trembling. No one moved to help the Emperor. Velra stepped forward slowly, her hand glowing. "Father," she said softly, "for years you told me I was worthless. But I learned something humans already knew. Worth isn't given by blood or throne. It's earned by heart." She placed her glowing palm over his chest. The Emperor's armor cracked completely, revealing a weak, frightened man underneath. "Do it," he hissed. "Finish me like a human savage." Velra shook her head. "No, I won't become what you are." She turned to Ethan. "Let him live in his own silence." Ethan nodded. "That's a fate worse than death." The Emperor lowered his head, defeated. His crown rolled away across the floor, stopping at Velra's feet. The cameras still streamed across the galaxy. Ethan looked at them, standing tall despite his wounds. "Listen to me," he said, his voice strong but heavy with emotion. "Humans and Zirions have fought, mocked, and feared each other for generations. But today, one human and one alien stood together. We didn't win through hate. We won because we saw each other." He turned to Velra, who stood beside him, her light softly pulsing through the smoky air. "She was sent to humiliate me," Ethan continued, "but she became the hope this galaxy needed. If that's not beauty, then we've forgotten what it means to be alive." The crew of the Solaris, watching from orbit, began to cheer. Across worlds, both human and alien, silence turned to applause. Velra looked at Ethan, tears glistening. "You never gave up on me," he smiled weakly. "You gave me something to believe in." But before they could speak again, the ground rumbled. The Emperor's energy core, shattered during the battle, began to overload. The wall shook violently. "Energy surge," shouted a voice from Ethan's comlink. "The whole palace is going to explode." Ethan's eyes darted to Velra. "You have to get out." Velra shook her head. "The blast will destroy the city. I can contain it, just for a few seconds." "No," he shouted. "You won't survive." She smiled sadly. "Maybe not, but they will." Before he could stop her, Velra stepped into the collapsing chamber, her entire body glowing with fierce golden light. Energy swirled around her, brighter and brighter, until the explosion froze midair, trapped within her shimmering aura. Ethan shielded his eyes. The light grew blinding, then vanished completely. When he looked again, Velra was gone. The palace stood intact. The blast had been absorbed by her. Days later, peace talks began between humans and Zirions. The Emperor had resigned, broken and silent. A new council was formed, united under a single emblem, a star wrapped in two joined hands. At the ceremony, Ethan stood before a memorial of glowing crystal, shaped like a gentle flame. Inside, faint golden light pulsed, Velra's last energy. He placed his hand on the glass and whispered, "You were never a joke. You were the reason we became better." The crowd bowed their heads in silence. Final message: morale. True beauty isn't in perfection, it's in courage, kindness, and sacrifice. Love isn't bound by worlds or shapes. It's the light that survives the darkness. As the twin suns rose over Zirion, their light reflected off the memorial. One golden, one white, shining together like two hearts across the stars. The end.